Stop. Put down the shoe. I know you're hungry. I know you're busy. I know cooking can be intimidating. But our sponsor, Blue Apron, makes cooking so easy you don't have to eat your footwear. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. I love cooking, and when I was getting my chef legs, I was all over Blue Apron because it was easy and it was fun and I knew what I was doing. There was instructions. It was great. So what's on the new menu? Well, there's seared chicken and creamy pasta salad with summer squash and sweet peppers. Creamy shrimp rolls with quick pickles. I don't know. I've never heard of a quick pickle, but I'll tell you right now, I'm in. 100% I'm in. Sweet potato wedges and fresh basil fettuccine pasta with sweet corn and Cubanelle pepper. I cook a lot. I don't even know what Cubanelle pepper is, but it sounds good. If you don't like those items, they don't sound good to you, it's no big deal. You get to pick what Blue Apron sends you, so don't sweat it. There's tons of options. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Greggy. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Greggy. Blue Apron, a better way to cook, and you don't have to eat your shoe. Now, Tim.
Yes.
We're going to do your topic, which you told me plays into this.
Yes.
Before you do that, I want to tell everybody, this is the GameOverGreggy show, if you didn't know. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather around this table, each bring a random topic discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where a few bucks will get you early access to the show so early that if you give us $1, you can watch us record it live, just like so many people on Twitch are doing YouTube are doing right now. If you have no bucks to toss our way, no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where we post the entire show topic by topic, day by day, until it goes up as one big video and MP3. You see what happened, Andy, is that Tim got so into the topic before we actually started the topic just started. And I couldn't stop the train. The train was on the tracks.
It was a really good segue.
Got into it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So now what's your topic, Tim?
So my topic is advertising and marketing.
Yeah.
So
I thought we were going to be talking about Coke and stuff. And they're like, no, it applies to the game.
It applies very much to this. So my thing is, when we think about marketing and we think about advertisement, I think a lot of people quickly jump to, oh, that doesn't work on me. Mm-hmm. You know, you think it's like, oh, why would HP buy the HP Pavilion? Like, what's the point of them having their name on a place that Jay-Z performs, or like whatever sports teams do their sports stuff?
I've heard of those.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yep. Or like when you see a commercial on TV, it's like, what's the point of this? Like you see Super Bowl, right? It's like, oh, it costs this much millions of dollars for a 30-second spot. If you're not doing something funny or whatever, like what's the point of spending that much money? Like, what's the actual conversion rate for people buying that product? And you start thinking like, there's no way that'll work on me. And I feel like, and then you see it with podcast, when you see like with us talking about Blue Apron, MeUndies, or whatever those things are. It's like, so
worked on Trevor Starkey
in the comments would be like, why are you doing this? Like, we obviously don't care. And it's like, my thing is I've put a lot of thought into that over my life. And I'm like, it must be working because it has never stopped. It's evolved and changed over time of where they put the thing, but it's still a smattering of just, if we say it enough, people will listen and people will know. Sure. And I've started to think, I'm like, well, HP, having the HP Pavilion, when I think of HP, I think they're a big deal, right? Sure. I think that alone adds a sense of value to them, where you're like, when you're thinking about computers and you hear, oh, HP versus something else, you're like, oh, well, HP, I at least know them, right?
Yeah, it's brand recognition.
Brand recognition. And then when you go further than that, when you go to the Blue Aprons or whatever, it becomes more of like, all right, if one person does, and they're like, oh, I actually really like this, I use this, they tell someone else, and it kind of goes from there. It's the recognition actually turned into recommendation, and it goes further. And all right, cool, that starts to make sense. But where we're at now with the internet and with all these things that you brought up earlier, these social hooks, I had a conversation with you at E3 about this game.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked about it before on the GameOverGreggy show of how Hot Pepper Gaming works and why you made it the way you did, which is very shareable and very, you don't need to watch every other episode for it to make sense. Every episode could be its own quote unquote viral hit, right? And you can go forward from there, but you can kind of design things with marketing and advertisement in them to help them expand and help them get out there. And what I'm so impressed by with the Dream Daddy dad dating simulator, is that it made it everywhere. right?
Yeah.
You didn't need to pay for advertisement anywhere. You obviously are coming on your friends' shows to talk about stuff that put in front of our followers or whatever. You have the Game Grumps tweeting about it and all of the Rooster Teeth people tweeting about it and stuff. And obviously it reaches a point where it's just a lot of people talking and people aren't listening because of retweets. People retweet things every day, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it hits a point where it's like, okay, what does an actual retweet mean in terms of the click-through rate is what we call it in the biz.
In the
I mean,
biz.
there's a lot
Man,
of
air quotes you're
but I
using.
mean,
Wow, all right.
there's a lot of asshole words being used. But really, though, what impresses me is it's not just one thing or the other thing or paying the money. It's the combination of all of it. I've seen this game on Kotaku, on Pitchfork, on
That was my favorite one.
BuzzFeed, on like all these sites that are very different than each other, and they're all in completely different verticals in some cases. And I think going off of it, I'll let you explain this better, but Pitchfork is the one that impresses me the most.
Okay, I didn't expect that one to be a thing, but I guess to sort of go back of like, it's not I don't think it's a nefarious thing, but what we did when we made this game was like we thought about the idea of like, you know, like going back to Hot Pepper Gaming, the idea of shareable content, like how do you create something that one person wants to share with another person, because like you can spend as many marketing dollars as you want on certain things, but at the end of the day, like if someone doesn't see that and share it with someone else, like you're kind of like dead in your tracks.
What was the point of it?
Yeah. So like, you know, like even like from day one of Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator, like we saw like ways to sort of compress the idea. Like the more you can compress an idea, the further it will travel online. So like even in the title of Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator, the acronym is DDADDS dads, which is just a dad joke in itself. So like that, we sort of like when we were making the game, me and Layton, we went forward with that ethos of like, how do you make things that people can screen cap and share with other people? Like how do you write about this game or talk about this game that is designed so that like someone could see that and then someone could tweet about that, because the easier it is for someone to explain the game, the easier it is for them to share it.
And like, I think what's important there is that it's a lot of stuff that is organically shareable, as opposed to, you know, you see a trailer for a movie and it's like, come see this movie, it's the best. But if your friend comes to you and is like, hey, I saw this movie and it was awesome, like you're going to trust your friend on that, like more than you would trust anyone who's like directly trying to market to you. And so it was a lot of like seeding things into this game that we know that people will want to share with their friends, and that hit a lot of different like interests and senses of humor. And like, it's been really interesting to read replies to, you know, the announced tweets and stuff, because people just like tag their friends and are like, this is so you, which I think is really, really interesting. And also just like the elevator pitch for this game, super short. It's one
You
sentence.
play as a dad and your goal is to meet and romance other dads.
Like that's super shareable. It's exactly what it says on the tin, and it's, you know, that sets up an expectation of what do you think it might be, and then I hope that when people play it, they'll see that. You know,
I want to
there's a
go
lot
on saying
more.
this, that like the stuff like people haven't downloaded this game yet, and like all we're talking about right now is math. But I think we did like I think what we've done so far, like I think that's like sort of like proof in the model, I suppose. But also, we're going to see what happens when like people actually play and see if they enjoy the game.
Well, what's interesting for me is the fact that it's the first game I think that I've heard described, and granted, I think it's because it's indie and it's all these different things, and so there's less, you know, corporations and powers that be on top of you telling you what you can and can't say. But it's you guys talking about it in a very frank way of like, Vernon knows the internet, and he in terms of like how the YouTube works and how sharing content there works, references to come together and be like, we're putting this stuff in there not because it's a hook in terms of traditional advertising, because we know how people consume things on the internet. We are students not only of video games, we're students of the internet, we're the
culture,
Twitch culture. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's what I always talk about when I harp on the trophy thing. And not in the joke sense, in the fact that it's always this disconnect of the developer doesn't understand what it's like to be the player, and the player who does want that kind of reward.
Yeah, it's interesting for me thinking back to when I was at IGN, and it's like, all right, cool, 8 million subscribers, and how are we going to make a video? Especially when I was like, all right, I know that I have this audience I can put something in front of. How do I make something that I think is super cool, but what can I change about that will get the most sizable part of that pie chart to at least be interested in watching it? And then it's like, okay, how can I get them to then click it? And then how can I get them to share it? And it comes down to obviously headline, thumbnail, all those things we've talked about.
But I think that
before.
you saw like the more you sort of like included your own personality in the topics, like the more real it felt, right?
Yeah, it's like making the thing that you want to make, or we've said this over and over, pitching this game is like you make something for 10 people on the internet, like really specific, and like that resonates with people because they see how true that is to those 10 people.
And it makes them want to share, because there's if you're like that, and this is the BuzzFeed mentality that we've talked about so much, it's like if you're like this, the reason that they have so many videos called, 10 reasons you are this, or you know you're this when blank.
Yeah.
It's because if they're that, someone else is that, and then they'll share that and it'll keep
It's
going.
like, it's literally the basis of memes in general. Like, how many memes are like,
My face
here's
when.
this thing that I only thought that I did, but actually everyone else also does.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Like, things are so much more universal than I think people realize they are. And it's so great because the internet, like, lets you see, like, oh, hey, everybody else does this
Going
too.
back
Yeah, sort
to
of
the
goes-
Pitchfork
yeah.
thing, because I think this is what the whole topic spurred from is, so Pitchfork is a music website. It's kind of a music blog.
Yeah, it's
very
sort of like-
hipstery, like this is what you should be
look at
listening
me.
to. Exactly,
Yeah.
type shit.
Look at me.
But that's a huge audience
Well,
of people.
no, look at me, the hipster.
Yeah.
version.
Oh,
yeah. It totally
I
is.
thought you were going to say you're describing Pitchfork.
No, man.
'Cause it was
I'm-
funny.
I'm Pitchfork's demographic.
No, yeah.
we
Pitchfork
were at
is-
dinner last night. He's like, yeah, and the write up in Pitchfork. I was like, yeah. I was like, I have no idea what that is. I don't know what you're talking about.
What's cool about it is Pitchfork is not video games at all.
Mm-hmm.
It is very like hipster
Yeah,
music
yeah.
site, right? And what's cool is you got run up there because you had an indie hipster band that you personally like involved in the game, and that was the hook there for them to write about.
I like that one. Okay, so there's things that are funny to me and things that are funny to other people, and I think I do my best work when you get that center of the Venn diagram of like things that are funny to me and other people at the same time. This gag was just like, this was like, I can't believe they let me put this in. But one of the dates takes you to a concert hall with Cool Dad. It's called the
Yeah, Cool
Sound
Dad.
Garden. There's a lot of puns in this game, a lot of dad puns. So you go to the Sound Garden with Cool Dad for a pup show. And I was like, I was like, Pup and I follow each other on Twitter. Like, I'm friends with their record label. So I was like, this is real dumb, but I'm just gonna ask them. So I asked them, and then we licensed a song for them, and then we drew them into the game. And I didn't think that was gonna be big enough to get on Pitchfork, but I think it was such a strange thing that it ended up there. And like that wasn't even like there's another shareable thing on top of that I can't, like, I'm hoping people find out when they play the game. But I was like when I figured out that, I was like, all right, I finally justified how much money we paid to get that in the game.
You told me that last night. I don't want to say what it is.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most brilliant things you've told me about that game.
Thank you. So I didn't even expect to get like a Pitchfork feature from that, but I'm so glad that it did, and I think it's just like that's what the battle tactics are.
Yeah,
right?
and
Like, just
that's what
find
I'm
ways for
saying. A
people to share
testament
things.
to the beauty of thinking outside the box for marketing and advertising is that when you do that, you actually get results. Because you could pay sites like bigger music sites to cover it, and then sure they cover it, but no one will give a fuck because no one cares. It's not real. Whereas Pitchfork, you didn't do it to make sure that happened. You did it because you wanted to,
Yeah.
but then you made sure that you pitched
Used it the
Pitchfork
right way.
the right way. You told it. You didn't just say, "Hey guys, we're making a dad dating simulator." They would have just discarded that email.
Yeah.
But you instead
No,
said,
the thing
"Hey,
is,
look at this
we
way."
didn't even reach out. Oh, I didn't even reach out to them. I don't know if someone did, but they reached out to Side One Dummy, their label, and they were like, we want to know more about this. So like, it was cool that like it came back to us, even though we didn't expect it to come back to us.
Well, I think that's, again, back to what I was talking about, right? I feel like you guys are doing this from the ground up and taking all the knowledge you know as fans and then industry people to put it together and make something that
I hope so, man.
Works
I'm
together.
hoping it works.
Well, I think the reaction you've seen so far, I think, shows that it does. that
And
people are
even
down for it.
talking about things like you were saying that you designed the characters with cosplay in mind, like that's something that our friends at Rooster Teeth, like they talk about with Ruby so much, where they're like, we made sure that we designed characters with things that are recognizable and that they have multiple outfits, and there's the casual version that can be made so that when they go to conventions, you just see an army of Ruby people, and it's like that is marketing in itself, because there's nothing more like off-putting when you're at a convention and someone's like, "Who's that?" and you're like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you always feel like you're supposed to know.
Yeah, and also from a fan art perspective, and also just like I wanted to make sure that, you know, everyone had a dad that they felt like they could relate to, or a dad that's like, oh, that's me, or that's who I want to date. But also just like, you know, from a design sense, like color blocking. Each dad has a very distinct color scheme, and like just a lot of really specific things where like no matter what form you're seeing them in, it's like instantly recognizable of, okay, that's Dream Daddy.
I feel like this has got to be, you know, I know we throw it around a lot, but like how you make an independent game in 2017,
yeah.
right? Of like,
Yeah.
it doesn't, you can't just put something out and then expect it to get found anymore because there's
Yeah.
so much stuff happening.
Yeah.
And you also can't not think about the factors. Sorry, I keep forgetting
no,
parts of this conversation, but I was so impressed by it because the Pitchfork thing, you ask the band to be in the game, and they are and whatever, but then you also are like, but wait, if we have licensed music in the game, that's going to cause problems for Twitch streamers.
I can't
and
talk about
Let's
that one
Plays.
just yet. That's I
surprise.
want people to find out about that one.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry,
shut
man.
up then.
Oh man,
all right.
it'll be hopefully be a good reveal.
I know there are like so many other things that I want to talk about that are like very seated, shareable things, and there's so many of them, and we can't talk about any.
Yeah.
But that's so smart, right? I mean, that's the whole
My point is you're thinking about it.
Yeah. We're so in the weeds with this stuff, but like, it's I think that in this day and age, like the challenge is that like statistically, there have been the most amount of Steam games that exist on Steam were like published in the last year. So you're up against so many things, and right now I think as a creator, and we see this on YouTube as well, is like is not enough just to be good. Like there's just like an ocean of good ideas that nobody has seen because nobody has shared it with anyone else. So I think the challenge is when you're a content creator on the internet or for video games or for music or TV or like whatever, it's about being good and shareable. And I think that's the big challenge of how do you make it those two things.
And it's something that is always changing. Like you have to be so up to date on like what is happening on the internet. Like I step away from the internet for 3 days and come back and I'm like, I don't know what's happening anymore. I'm out of the loop. So like putting together a long-term plan of like what works, and especially like, we made this game a year and a half. Most of the work was done in the last like 10 months. I would even go so far as to say is in the last 6 months. And like, it's like I can't even imagine games with a longer development period, trying to stay relevant and on top of things and still be
trying to like
marketable.
juke the ephemerality of the internet.
Do
Yeah.
you see that happening though? I mean, Vernon, you've got such an interesting take because you're a YouTube content creator. You worked in Maker, which the MCN. Of course, you were worrying about analytics, how to advertise all these different things. RIP. And then making video games now. Do you see it being something that'll be like? How eventually every great idea on the indie scene will eventually go up to a AAA. Do you see that being a thing where EA and all these other people are going to have to start sitting there and actually do this?
I think so. I think like you always, the fear is the sameness, right? Like it's like the blue ocean market theory versus the red ocean market theory. Like when you're combating sameness, it's just not something that people can share, and I think you can only exist on IP for so long, or like beloved IP, and like that's always going to be a thing, and there's always going to be a market for that. But like if you're breaking in with a new thing, or if you're trying to make something big that people can share, I mean you're already seeing it now. Like PS4 has a share button. Like Screen has like Steam has screen capture right there in it.
So does the Switch, right? Which I thought was super crazy the first time.
There's a dedicated button to it right now.
Yeah.
So I think even AAAs are seeing like the fact that like these games live or die by people talking about them, and it's not just about whether you have a good experience sitting down on the couch and playing a game, but whether or not you're having a good experience sharing your own experience with those people that you like, those people in the same community as you.
So do you think it's similar to the way I always talk about it, it's always interesting, this generation who are making video games now, who grew up with Mario, right?
Yeah.
And so then their games are so drastically different in their own personal experiences and all these different gameplay. And to think about the people who are going to consume, Neil Druckmann plays NES and makes Last of Us. Somebody's consuming The Last of Us right now and is going to make X. Do you see that being the same way in terms of advertising and marketing games? Do you think there's the people who are growing up right now who are going to go into advertising marketing and then try to go in and then be like, I represent Coke, Pepsi, whoever, and I want to put that into this and have a reference in this game?
Yeah. I mean, like I'm not the only person doing this. Like we aren't the only people. We aren't the only people like looking at games from this perspective. And there's gonna be people like smarter than me who are gonna crack this code faster than me.
Totally. I'm excited for that. Like I'm really excited to see where marketing and using the internet to market goes beyond just like stuff that's clearly not working.
Because
a banner ad and the side thing.
Because I think what's the interesting thing is like people are realizing like it's the sincerity of marketing something or being excited about something and caring about something that really. It's like 2 years ago, like memes were about being sad, depressed, and suicidal, and like that's how people related to each other. And then 2 years later, like there was sort of like that pushback to it of like, oh, let's make things wholesome now, and like let's care about each other and let's just be nice to each other. And like it's so cool to see the evolution of a culture like that of a community of people appreciating sincerity. So like to see like it's going to be interesting to see where advertisers and marketers like try to relate to that or try to make something in that same vein.
Yeah, because like you cannot manufacture that sincerity and people can tell a mile away when you're being disingenuous about it.
Sure. But I mean, Tim, as somebody else who's been on the internet forever and consumer forever, do you see brands being able to do that? Because what about being sincere with marketing and advertising and doing all these different things? There's such a fine line that is Dream Daddy, and then on the other side, the Kylie Jenner giving a protest person at Pepsi.
I just think there needs to be someone that cares, because the moment that there is a person within that corporations are the big evil corporations, until it's like, no, this is someone that genuinely cares and actually wants to be this. Going back to me at IGN. IGN is this big corporation, me wanting to make something different and thinking that way. I think that's all it takes. I feel like the Kylie Jenner thing is an example of traditional marketing teams, right? Not an actual like trying to get into things in a different way. And I know that if you're talking about, I feel like nowadays Coke would be potentially involved in indie games in a much more meaningful way than Pizza Hut was in
Crazy Taxi.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great game.
KFC.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys. So what was the strategy behind, let me start that sentence again. Whenever I put something out, I try my best to make it as easy for the consumer as possible, like you were saying, of the dumbing it down to just the simplest thing. But I like saying, here's the thing, click here to do it. Yeah. So it's one message. What was the strategy of announcing the game and then having it come out later? Like,
Just
why
be
not
stressed?
Why not do that at the same time?
To stress us out the most, I think. But no, really, I think that it's letting people get excited about it and for that hype to build, for people to speculate what the characters are going to be. I mean, the teaser trailer is just the silhouettes of the dads, and that was an intentional thing. It's not like we revealed the lineup. Like if you click on the links of like DreamDaddy.biz or you go to the Tumblr, you can see the lineup of the characters, and like from the silhouettes you can compare and see what their names are. And like it just really encouraged a lot of speculation over what it's going to be, and also just fan content. Like I think
community building, really.
Yeah, like half of the things that I play or watch now, like I find because artists I really like are making fan content and doing cool fan art. And I think that that's such a good like shareable hook for people, because it's just like a friend telling you to watch something, but like, you know, here's this cool art that's like probably this person like inserting some things about the game or movie or whatever that's interesting. So like obviously dating sims really do encourage fan content like that, because at a certain point, like, you know, you can only cover so much in a dating sim. Like it's pretty much like, oh, this is the confession of love or the beginning of the relationship, and that's where everyone else can jump in with fan fiction and fan art of, you know, whatever their ideal pairing is. But like if you look at something like BioWare games with like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, I know of so many people who are just like really prolific fan artists for those things, and like that is such a huge shareable hook of like, wow, who's this like hot elf guy? Like how can I get into that? And I know also a lot of those same people like only play BioWare games because they're interested in the romances and the relationships. And I think kind of catering to this market of people that's like a lot of young, I hesitate to say women on the internet, but like I think it's largely like young women who kind of grew up like with a little bit more, you know, with the internet. Like as a kid, I played a lot of video games, but I didn't have any like older friends or siblings who were like, here's Zelda. Like I just played a lot of stupid whatever movie tie-ins my parents would buy. And then when I got into high school, I watched Let's Plays. So I think it's this like really interesting culture where it's a lot more accessible to people who, you know, might not have come up like through a traditional, like, here are all the seminal things that you play. And like all of my friends play video games. So I think these people, like young people like me, are like really interested in like story games and narrative and like relationships and dating sims. And I think like catering to that, I'm interested to see how that goes, I guess.
Canonically, is there one true pairing?
Ooh.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you want the comments to get that bad? No, we love all our dads equally.
All of the dads are absolutely, yeah.
All right,
Yeah, man.
When's dads come out?
July 13th.
3 days.
Yeah, so Thursday of this week. Oof.
Get hyped.
So,
Get
yeah.
hyped.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Cool.
you so much, Leighton, for sitting down with us.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Now we're going to move away from advertising and video games for topic 3, which is Andy Cortez's. Cool. Thanks for watching, everybody. Click here to subscribe. Click down there to go to Patreon and support us when we need your help. We love you very much. Click over here. You can watch other episodes of the GameOverGreggy show. Please go watch the Anna Sale one I did. I love it quite a bit. And then down there, you can click and go see Kind of Funny Games. What are they up to? Party mode, you say? What's that? It's the show we hired Andy for that you need to watch, or I swear to God, I'll kill Andy.